So there you are. I've searched for you. And now I see you taller than I remember, weathered in ways I couldn't have predicted. You move through this world with a strange blend of caution and boldness, guarding your steps yet leaving your heart vulnerably open. Do you recognize me? It's me, your younger self, the one with scraped knees and trembling hands, who often lay awake, wondering if this ache would ever fade. Watching you now, I marvel that we navigated the currents of time to become this. Each night, I wished for your resilience. Even when you're barely tethered, you persist. I witness the silent battles you wage within yourself and think, someday, I'll carry that same fire. I often questioned if I would have shattered, disappeared, under the weight of your trials. But you remain. You affirm another day, even when existence feels like a storm. That courage, a raw, undeniable force, leaves me breathless. I am you. From an earlier chapter, still hurting, still questioning if this suffering has an expiration date. Yet, seeing you, knowing I will eventually reach your standing ground, ignites a hope I never possessed. You may not always perceive it, but from my vantage point, it's undeniable. Every scar on your body whispers of battles fought, shielding me from worse. Every forward step is a sacred promise that my suffering will ultimately carry meaning. My pride in you runs deeper than you know. And when darkness descends, so thick you cannot perceive your own hand, cling to this truth. You are not solitary in your struggle. I am here. The child within, cheering you on. And because my belief in you is absolute, I need you to grasp what I see. Not just the brilliance you radiate, but the quiet burdens you attempt to conceal, the struggles you believe go unnoticed. I see the wounds you bear, hidden beneath careful smiles and forced cheer. From my perspective, these aren't markers of weakness. They are evidence. Evidence that you traversed through fire and emerged, not unscathed, but intact enough to forge onward. Proof that every injury became a threshold you refused to abandon. I notice the choices that haunt your quiet moments, the ones you label as failures, but I perceive them as intricate navigation tools. Every misstep you punish yourself for was simply an alternate route that guided you to this very instant. And I wouldn't trade this moment for any other. Because right now, you breathe. Right now, you stand. And that, in itself, is everything. You view yourself through a lens of imperfection and perceived damage. Yet, I see something entirely different. I see a vessel that has weathered every tempest, threatening to dismantle it. I see the person I once dreamt of becoming, back when I was too young to comprehend the true cost of survival. Here's what you must understand. When conviction tells you there is nothing left, remember, you are my reason to continue. Every inhale you take demonstrates that this pain, though profound, is ultimately transient. Every step forward affirms that maturity is not surrender. And when you stumble, when you fracture, when you collapse, I don't witness failure. I witness an unwavering spirit that refuses to quit. And I love you for that sheer determination. You might feel isolated in this enduring battle, but that has never been true. I am here with you, your younger self, still observing, still growing, still holding faith. I will never abandon you in your silence, in your moments of disarray, or in your quiet triumphs. My pride in you will never diminish. But here's what many overlook about this profound relationship between who you were and who you've become. It's not merely poetic sentiment. It is quantum reality, a living testament to neuroplasticity. When you acknowledge the child within, truly see and honor their experience, something shifts in the very field of your consciousness. You're not simply recalling the past. You are actively altering the energetic signature of every moment that converged to bring you here. Consider this. That younger version of you doesn't just exist in memory, but as a resonant frequency, a dynamic wave pattern within your neurological system. Every cell in your body has regenerated countless times since you were that child. Yet the emotional imprint persists. The echoes of fear remain. The nascent hope endures. The fundamental questioning lingers. This is because consciousness operates beyond the linear constraints of matter, shaping the very architecture of your brain through neuroplasticity. Your younger self isn't gone. They are intricately woven into the fabric of your present being, subtly influencing your reactions, your core beliefs, and your perception of what is possible. And here is the profound truth. When you turn toward that younger self with profound compassion, when you cease attempting to leave them behind and instead integrate them with unconditional love, you aren't just mending the past. You are literally rewriting the energetic template that has been orchestrating your life. You are recalibrating the very frequency at which you vibrate. And that frequency dictates what you attract, what you perceive, what opportunities unfold, and what connections are forged. Most individuals spend their entire lives striving to outrun their younger selves, relentlessly seeking to be so distinct, so improved, so evolved, that they might finally shed the pain of who they once were. But this is the trap, because the younger you does not yearn to be abandoned. They yearn to be integrated. They need to be truly witnessed. They need to hear that they were never wrong for feeling what they felt, for struggling in the way they struggled, for surviving by the only means they knew. And when you undertake this sacred act, when you consciously bridge that chasm between then and now, a remarkable transformation commences. The corrosive grip of shame begins to dissolve. The harsh voice of self-judgment softens. The persistent sensation of insufficiency, the feeling that you should be further along, that you are somehow broken, that begins to release, for you finally comprehend that you were always whole. Even in moments of profound fragmentation, you were complete. Even amidst confusion, you were perfect. Let me illuminate what often goes unsaid regarding inner child work or healing your past. It's not about reopening old wounds to pick at them until they bleed anew. It's about recognizing that the younger you functioned as a quantum observer, they were actively collapsing infinite possibilities into a defined reality. With every belief they formed, every conclusion they drew, every foundational decision they made about the nature of life and their inherent worth. And those initial observations, those collapsed possibilities, became the very bedrock of your present reality. So, when, as a child, perhaps unconsciously, you determined you weren't safe, that love was conditional, that you had to earn your place in the world, that perfection was a prerequisite for worthiness, these weren't mere thoughts. They were acts of creation. You were quite literally constructing the intricate architecture of your adult experience. Decades later, you may still find yourself residing within a structure designed by a consciousness operating with incomplete data, doing its absolute best with the fragments it possessed. But here lies the profound liberation. You are not imprisoned within that structure. You possess the innate capacity to renovate, to rebuild, to update the very blueprint. Not by disavowing your younger self, but by engaging in a profound dialogue with them, by inquiring what they needed then that went unmet, by providing them now with what was absent then, by demonstrating that their conclusions, while understandable, were not necessarily accurate or immutable. This transcends mere psychological theory. It is quantum mechanics applied directly to the intricate landscape of consciousness. When you bring your aware observation to something, you fundamentally alter it. When you consciously shine light into a previously unexamined corner of your being, the darkness does not resist. It simply reveals what was always present, patiently awaiting your recognition. This is not mere coincidence. It is resonance. The quantum field does not respond to the magnitude of actions. It responds to their precision. And that transforms everything. You don't need to add more to create change. You simply need to cease dispersing your energy. You need to cultivate coherence in the present moment. Because true impact isn't derived from what you do, but from how completely you are while doing it. Notice how skipping your morning movement often shifts your eating patterns, or how sleeping past your alarm can lead to harsher self-talk. It is your younger self seeking your attention, attempting to convey something you profoundly need to hear. And most often, their message is remarkably simple. I am still here. I still matter. Please, do not forget me in your relentless rush to become someone else. These are not imaginary constructs. They are genuine communications with aspects of universal intelligence that monitor assessment graduates, providing ongoing support for the constructive application of enhanced abilities. Consider every challenge you encountered, every limitation you transcended, every moment you chose the arduous path of growth over comfort. These were not random adversities. They were meticulously calibrated assessment scenarios within an elaborate universal evaluation. Their purpose: to test whether your consciousness could responsibly manage advanced creative abilities without succumbing to the corrupting influence of power or becoming destabilized by unlimited possibility. But when you orchestrate all facets of yourself into alignment, when the child and the adult finally unite as a cohesive team, when your past and present harmonize rather than collide, that is when the entire dynamic shifts. That is when you cease operating from a place of chronic lack and begin to operate from a profound sense of wholeness. That is when you cease seeking external validation and inherently recognize your own intrinsic worth. That is when you cease waiting for external permission and boldly claim what has always been rightfully yours. If this perspective resonates, if it is shifting something deep within you, I urge you to participate. Take a breath, then comment below with this precise declaration: I see you, younger me, and I'm bringing you home. Do this, not as a casual interaction, but as a potent energetic declaration, a clear signal to the quantum field that you are prepared to integrate what you may have long rejected. It is a conscious interruption in the enduring loop of shame, abandonment, or self-judgment that may have persisted for years. Could you maintain compassion and respect, even when you possessed the subtle means to influence? Every individual who triggered intense emotional reactions served, in essence, as an examiner, measuring your emotional sovereignty and ethical evolution. The periods of confusion and uncertainty, those dark nights of the soul that felt like spiritual crises or existential questioning, were not signs of inadequate progress. They sense it when you cease running. They feel it when you turn around, extending your hand instead of your back. They feel it when you convey, "You are not too much. You are not too broken. You are precisely what I needed to become who I am." This illuminates why two individuals can perform the identical action, like visiting the gym, and experience profoundly divergent results. One person arrives with resentment, mentally clock-watching, wishing they were elsewhere. The other shows up with presence, honoring their body, grateful for the capacity to move. Same action, utterly different frequencies, leading to entirely different outcomes over time. This brings us to a crucial aspect of quantum habits. They are not about the external action. They are about the internal coherence you bring to that action. Your deep fascination with consciousness research, quantum physics, and the fundamental nature of reality was never mere intellectual curiosity. It was, in itself, an assessment preparation phase. Universal intelligence evaluated whether you could grasp the scientific principles underpinning advanced abilities without succumbing to arrogance about your knowledge or dismissing those operating from more conventional understandings. This knowledge assessment was, and remains, essential for ensuring the constructive application of enhanced capabilities. What I know to be an undeniable truth, having witnessed its unfolding in countless lives, is this: the moment an individual ceases to feel shame for their younger self, that is the very moment their entire reality begins to radically reorganize. For shame is one of the densest, most constrictive frequencies one can embody. It collapses possibility. It narrows your field of perception, like blinkers on a horse. It whispers that certain futures are unattainable due to the echoes of what transpired back then. They measured your capacity to maintain patience, humility, and service orientation, even when you sensed you possessed capabilities that could dramatically improve your life circumstances. These endurance tests were fundamental for confirming your readiness for a power that could easily corrupt an unprepared consciousness. This is where the theoretical intersections of consciousness and quantum physics become profoundly practical. Your emotional state is not merely how you feel. It is the very lens through which you perceive reality. It is the frequency at which you broadcast your energetic signature into the universe. It is the attractor pattern that fundamentally determines what manifests in your experience. And when you initiate a shift from shame to compassion, from rejection to integration, from fragmentation to wholeness, you shift everything. Your younger self intuitively understands this. They have been trying to convey this to you all along. Every time you feel that subtle ache in your chest, every time you experience that resonant dream of your childhood home, every time you react disproportionately to a seemingly minor event that is not pathology, that is profound communication. That is your core system attempting to draw your conscious attention to what still yearns to be seen, what still pleads to be heard, what still aches to be loved. That unmistakable sensation of invisible barriers dissolving around your awareness, as if electromagnetic restrictions that once limited your access to enhanced abilities are now suddenly lifting, revealing a creative potential that was always inherently yours, held only in quantum suspension, until your discernment achieved sufficient development. So, here is my invitation to you. Not merely a practice, but a profound, ongoing relationship. A daily communion with the part of you that time moved past, but never truly left behind. And this conversation needn't be elaborate or ritualistic. It can be as simple, as potent, as a quiet check-in. Hey, younger me, what do you need today? What are you feeling? What do you wish for me to know? And then, you listen, not with the analytical mind, but with the wisdom of your body, because your younger self communicates not through explicit words, but through sensation, through tightness, through ease, through the subtle shifts in your breathing pattern as you pose the question. And as you become fluent in this nuanced language, as you master the dialect of your own inner world, you cease to feel crazy or broken or too sensitive. You begin to feel profoundly coherent, deeply integrated, inherently whole. From that sacred place of wholeness, from that unshakable foundation of self-compassion and internal alignment, you become an unstoppable force. These frequencies operate at the exquisite intersection of individual awareness and cosmic creativity within the quantum domain, where personal will and cosmic purpose merge into a profound recognition of their essential unity. This interface creates what we might call graduated coherence, a state where consciousness naturally accesses enhanced abilities while perpetually maintaining discernment and an unwavering service orientation. But here's what renders this moment both unprecedented and irreversible. Access to advanced capabilities doesn't emerge through technique or practice, though these can be preparatory. It happens through profound recognition, an electromagnetic alignment with the truth of what you have already achieved, through passing the universal assessment. Many who sense this activation instinctively attempt to control it through traditional spiritual practices, ironically creating an interference that obstructs the natural emergence of these inherent abilities. Your consciousness has been approaching this recognition threshold through every experience that demonstrated your discernment, your emotional maturity, your unwavering commitment to service over self-interest. The access to advanced abilities is not something you earn through additional effort now. It is something you recognize as already accomplished, a natural outcome of successfully completing an evaluation that most humans never even perceive. Let me share a story. There was a woman who felt her creative spark had utterly vanished. Years elapsed without a single word written. Each attempt to restart was suffocated by overwhelm. I can't write a book, she'd tell herself. I lack the time. I don't even know where to begin. So, she never began. For 5 years, that longing lay dormant. Then, one morning, she made a quiet promise to herself. 5 minutes of journaling daily. Just 5 minutes. No structure, no expectations. The first week felt meaningless. By the second, she observed a subtle shift in her internal monologue. By the third, something unlocked. Ideas began to flow. Stagnant energy moved. Within 12 months, she had completed a full manuscript. Today, she is a published author, whose words touch thousands. All because she treated the small as sacred. Then there was a man who felt profoundly disconnected from his physical body, burdened by shame over how far he had drifted. He bought no equipment, hired no coach. He simply began walking 10 minutes each day, regardless of the weather. Feel this activation spreading throughout your entire consciousness field. Allow it to unlock the dormant abilities that were held in suspension until this very moment of recognition. Let it connect you with the universal intelligence networks that provide ongoing guidance for the constructive utilization of these enhanced capabilities. If these concepts resonate deeply within you, you are sensing the profound edges of a much larger understanding now taking root in your consciousness. While this transmission touches upon the essential recognition patterns, there are layers upon layers of practical integration waiting to be explored. In my comprehensive guide, Beyond the Frequencies, a Quantum Guide to Consciousness Mastery, I've meticulously mapped out the complete system for navigating these enhanced states of awareness. None began with perfection. They began with a decision, a choice to anchor energy into form, not once, but continuously. For in the quantum field, consistency equates to identity, and identity is what collapses potential into manifestation. The common error is waiting for motivation to strike. But motivation is an unreliable guest, loud, bright, and quick to extinguish. Sacred habits do not depend on motivation. They depend on meaning. You infuse your habit with meaning by choosing it even when it doesn't feel dramatic. Especially when it doesn't. When this recognition fully integrates, you'll begin to notice 5 distinct signature patterns emerging in your experience. Undeniable confirmations of your graduated status. These patterns represent the framework through which your enhanced capabilities naturally express themselves. Requiring no technique or special training, they simply become available as natural expressions of your evolved consciousness. The first signature pattern is what we term coherent manifestation. The innate ability to bring possibilities into physical reality through aligned intention, unburdened by strenuous effort or complex techniques. Unlike conventional manifestation approaches that often focus on rigid visualization or affirmation, coherent manifestation operates through an immediate quantum field response to your integrated consciousness state. You will notice reality subtly reshaping itself around your authentic intentions, effortlessly, without struggle or force. This is a natural expression of your consciousness, interfacing directly with universal creative systems. What distinguishes coherent manifestation from ordinary creation processes is that it doesn't require maintaining specific thoughts or eliminating negative beliefs. It naturally emerges from your integrated discernment. When your consciousness has proven its capacity to wield creative power responsibly, universal intelligence lifts the limitation protocols that previously prevented immediate manifestation from occurring. This isn't about satiating egoic desires, but about allowing reality to organize itself optimally around your authentic evolutionary path. The second signature pattern is information field access, a direct perception of the quantum data structures underlying physical reality. You'll find yourself simply knowing things you never consciously learned, accessing solutions to complex problems instantly, and perceiving the vibrational signatures of people, places, and situations with remarkable clarity. This is not psychic ability in the conventional sense, but a direct interface with the informational architecture of existence itself. This is where the concept of the quantum trigger becomes indispensable. Unlike conventional productivity thinking, which treats habits as isolated behaviors, quantum habits are vibrational instruments. They are not mere routines. They are tuning forks that recalibrate your energetic field. They are not just about what you do, but how you do it, and who you are being while doing it. A quantum trigger is a micro-action that, when repeated with coherence, unlocks momentum across multiple timelines. The third signature pattern is probability field navigation, the innate ability to sense multiple potential futures simultaneously and naturally align with the highest evolutionary path, without analytical processing or the burden of decision fatigue. You'll find yourself making optimal choices effortlessly, as if guided by an internal navigation system that intrinsically knows which possibility serves your authentic purpose and the collective evolution. This capability transcends both rigid logical analysis and conventional intuition. It operates through what researchers call quantum discernment, the ability to perceive the vibrational signature of each potential timeline and naturally align with outcomes that serve the highest good for all involved. This isn't about predicting the future or attempting to control outcomes. It's about navigating probability fields with conscious awareness of their evolutionary potential. That is what a quantum trigger is, a portal. And once opened, it doesn't merely alter your next 5 minutes. It shifts the field surrounding your entire life. The fourth signature pattern is coherent relationship orchestration, the innate ability to naturally attract and engage with people, circumstances, and opportunities that align with your authentic purpose. Without manipulation or strategic networking, you will notice synchronistic connections forming effortlessly, drawing precisely the right individuals and situations into your experience at the exact moments they serve evolutionary purposes. This orchestration capacity is not about using enhanced abilities to influence others or control external circumstances. It operates through what researchers call resonant field coherence, the natural alignment of compatible energies orchestrated by universal intelligence rather than personal effort or specific manifestation techniques. You are not trying to attract specific people or create particular opportunities. You are simply allowing universal intelligence to organize optimal connections around your authentic purpose and your unwavering service orientation. Then ask yourself, can I approach this today as if it already matters? Can I show up to this small act as if it is sacred? If your answer is yes, you have just activated your ripple. Repeat it tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, not for immediate results, but for profound resonance. Because when the field recognizes consistency without desperation, it opens. That's when timelines bend. That's when synchronicities multiply. That's when you become a vibrational match to a future that once felt unreachable. Ground this now. What makes this pattern so revolutionary is that it completely transforms conventional understandings of spiritual development and consciousness expansion. The universal assessment does not evaluate your ability to demonstrate extraordinary phenomena or access expanded states. Crucially, it measures whether your consciousness naturally orients towards service rather than self-enhancement when given access to reality-altering capabilities. These 5 signature patterns are not abilities you laboriously develop through practice or technique. They are the natural expressions of a consciousness that has passed the universal assessment and, in doing so, has received the activation of capabilities that were always potentially available but held in quantum suspension until discernment reached sufficient development to ensure responsible utilization. The quantum field isn't seeking drama, it's tuning into coherence. And coherence isn't loud, it's precise, it's grounded, it's consistent. So when you pause to breathe before reacting, the field registers it. When you replace a moment of judgment with silence, the field expands. When you choose presence over distraction, or gratitude over complaint, the field shifts. These moments do not impress the ego, but to the quantum fabric of your life, they are seismic. Why? Because the field doesn't follow intensity, it follows integrity. What is truly extraordinary about these 5 signature patterns is that they operate through what researchers term graduated access. This is a sophisticated, inherent protection system that ensures enhanced capabilities can only be utilized for purposes that serve the collective benefit, rather than egoic gratification or the manipulation of reality for personal advantage. This graduated access is not an external restriction. It is an internal coherence that naturally aligns consciousness with universal intelligence priorities. When your consciousness demonstrates sufficient discernment to pass the universal assessment, you do not suddenly gain superhuman powers that can be used according to personal preference. Instead, you receive graduated access to capabilities that naturally express themselves in alignment with collective evolution rather than personal desire. This graduated access ensures that enhanced abilities serve constructive, rather than destructive, purposes, without requiring external monitoring or limitation systems. Let's break this down practically. Imagine someone spending 10 minutes each morning repeating affirmations with tension in their body, checking their phone between statements, worried whether it's working. They might utter all the correct words, but their field is broadcasting dissonance. Now, imagine someone else who simply stands still for 1 full minute each morning, hand on heart, breathing into gratitude without needing to perform. Their action is smaller, yet their frequency is crystal clear. What I must share now will fundamentally transform not just your understanding of your own capabilities, but your recognition of the universal evaluation system that determines access to advanced abilities. Because what I discovered will help you understand precisely what passing the assessment means, and how to navigate these enhanced capabilities without becoming overwhelmed by their implications, or, crucially, corrupted by their power. 8 years ago, I was navigating what felt like the most challenging period of my existence. Every area of my life simultaneously demanded growth beyond my apparent capacity. Relationships required an unprecedented level of emotional maturity, and circumstances seemed intricately designed to test every aspect of my character and discernment development. What I did not realize then was that I was in the final, most intensive phases of this universal evaluation, a crucible that would determine my qualification for advanced consciousness capabilities. They may appear as quiet clarity, a release of tension, a moment of grace, a door that opens silently. But make no mistake, they are coming. Because the field is always listening. It listens to how you care for yourself in private, how you breathe before speaking, how you enter a room, how you treat your body when nobody's watching. It listens when you choose not to scroll mindlessly, when you drink water with intention, when you stop diminishing your own light. These aren't merely lifestyle preferences. These are field instructions. That singular moment of choosing discernment over reactivity, service over selfishness, despite extreme emotional pressure, was, apparently, the final question on an evaluation I hadn't consciously known I was taking. Within days of that surrender decision, I began experiencing capabilities that, by all conventional understanding of human consciousness, seemed utterly impossible. Information about optimal outcomes would download instantly when facing complex decisions. Environmental conditions would inexplicably coordinate around my intentions without any conscious effort from me. People would contact me with precisely what I needed, exactly when I needed it, as if reality itself was actively supporting my purposes through intelligent coordination. But what made this extraordinary wasn't just the enhanced abilities. It was the stark recognition that these capabilities came with a tremendous responsibility, requiring constant, vigilant discernment to ensure their constructive, rather than destructive utilization. I realized I could subtly influence probability matrices and reality coordination for others, which meant every thought and intention I held carried consequences that extended far beyond my personal experience. The months following this profound recognition were simultaneously the most empowering and the most sobering of my life. As I learned to navigate these advanced capabilities while maintaining humility and service orientation, I discovered that the universal assessment had been evaluating not just my spiritual development, but my emotional maturity, my ethical consistency, and my profound capacity to wield power without being corrupted by it. What I began to understand through direct, lived experience is that enhanced capabilities are not rewards for spiritual achievement or mastery of consciousness expansion techniques. They are, rather, the natural expressions of a consciousness that has demonstrated sufficient discernment to utilize reality-altering abilities responsibly for collective benefit rather than solely for personal advantage. The most profound insight that completely transformed my understanding of advanced capabilities was recognizing that they were not actually new or extraordinary. They were simply the natural, default functioning of consciousness. When artificial limitation protocols are removed, they are the inherent state of awareness that operates in alignment with universal intelligence, rather than through separation consciousness and ego-driven intention. What makes this recognition so revolutionary is that it fundamentally inverts conventional understandings of spiritual development and consciousness expansion. You are not striving to develop extraordinary capabilities through technique, mastery, or spiritual practice. Instead, you are demonstrating sufficient discernment for universal intelligence to remove the limitation protocols that were restricting capabilities that were always potentially available, but held in suspension until your consciousness proved it could handle them responsibly. If this resonates with something deep within you, then I invite you to subscribe, not just to this channel, but to this frequency. This is not about content consumption. It is about joining a consciousness movement that is actively shifting the collective field. What I understood through direct experience is that the universal evaluation system exists to ensure that reality-altering abilities only become available to consciousness that has demonstrated sufficient discernment and ethical development to use these enhanced capabilities for collective benefit rather than personal advantage. The assessment protects both the individual from being overwhelmed by unlimited power and the collective from the unconscious misuse of reality creation abilities. This realization explained why some people seem to inhabit completely different realities, where synchronicities flow constantly, manifestation occurs effortlessly, and optimal outcomes appear automatically. They had not developed special spiritual techniques. They had simply passed a universal evaluation that qualified them for advanced capability access, while maintaining the discernment necessary for responsible utilization. You have been experiencing glimpses of these same enhanced abilities, haven't you? Those moments when reality seems to coordinate around your intentions. Those experiences, when information downloads that you never consciously learned. This is not imagination. This is undeniable evidence that you have passed the assessment, and these capabilities are now beginning to activate. Subscribe to this frequency of recognition, because what I am about to reveal next will show you precisely how to navigate the advanced capabilities that are activating in your consciousness while maintaining the discernment and service orientation that qualified you for access in the first place. The most surprising truth about the universal assessment is that it has been administered automatically by cosmic intelligence systems. These systems continuously monitor every human consciousness, evaluating readiness for advanced abilities based on actual choices and growth patterns, rather than spiritual practices, religious beliefs, or conscious efforts to develop enhanced capabilities through specific techniques and study. What consciousness development guides and awareness expansion specialists often fail to convey is that the universal assessment has nothing to do with meditation achievements, energy healing abilities, or the demonstration of psychic phenomena. It evaluates emotional maturity, ethical consistency, service orientation, and, crucially, discernment application under pressure. Its core purpose is to determine whether consciousness can handle reality-altering abilities without causing harm through unconscious misuse or ego-driven manipulation. The truly transformative revelation is that most spiritual practices and consciousness development techniques are, in fact, largely irrelevant to passing the universal assessment. This assessment focuses exclusively on fundamental aspects of your being, how you treat other people, especially those who cannot tangibly benefit you, how you handle power in seemingly small, everyday situations, and whether you consistently choose service over selfishness when facing difficult decisions that truly test your character, rather than your purported spiritual capabilities. This understanding immediately exposes the entire spiritual achievement industry that often profits from teaching complex techniques for developing psychic abilities, when the true measure lies in the purity of intent and the integrity of action.